I just can't get enough of Larry Goldberg. So this is twice in the same day, Larry. Thank you so much for co-hosting on Monday night.
I wish you'd talk to my wife. I mean,
well, yeah, well, I don't know what to say. Well,
she's had 55 years of me, so
55 years. That's just absolutely amazing, Larry. That's really, really good. I'm hoping for both of you. Anyway, seems to be a really slow news day today, though. Cramer decided to support Elon Musk in this Wall Street Journal smear. He said, the long knives are out for Elon Musk like I haven't seen in a long time.
yeah.
He passed all the drug tests for the NASA contract. Why should we think he's a drug addict? And then Faber, he pops in and says he wants to know who Elon offended to get all this Wall Street Journal trash thrown at him. So what do you think? Is the Wall Street Journal just out to sell papers? Or
Yeah, I think that it's a very dubious journalism at best, to come up with these serial articles on his quote drug habit. You know, perhaps he did some drugs sometime. I have no idea, and I'm not even guessing at it. But who the hell in Silicon Valley hasn't? Who's got, and who at the Wall Street Journal? Who's going to cast the first stone? Well, they've chosen to cast the first stone, and I quail to think of what they've opened for, what Pandora's box they've opened for themselves. So, it's really shocking that journalism has sunk to this level. Shocking. But, I'm no longer shocked. Actually, that's the truth. I'm no longer shocked by any of the stuff. What goes on in the media now, it's open season on everybody. These guys have definitely, Wall Street Journal has a long history in their news pages of antagonism towards Elon.
Yeah.
And the back page in particular, some of those opinion pieces have been very devastating. At the time of the production hell, they really beat on him. They, raised all kinds of allegations based upon Tesla Q of fraud in the warranties and all, just endless nonsense. And this is just part of it. And the fact that they are dedicating that amount of space to that amount of anonymous innuendo. They're not even giving specific reports. They're giving specific anonymous innuendo.
Yes.
So it's very troubling, very, very troubling. I've been receiving the Wall Street Journal for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with that newspaper. Wow. And this is not, this is just one.
Yes.
And it goes far beyond just Elon. And I'm done. I'm calling it quits with them, because the value of the data that I get from them is almost zero now.
Yeah. Plenty of places to get the data, plenty of places to get the news, nothing special about their presentations.
No. And it's a pity because, they're one of the few newspapers that are somewhat in the center.
Right.
I know that their editorial pages are towards the right of center. I know, but their news articles were somewhat central, but they've moved left step by step by step. And so I'm done,
Yep. Well, yeah. So as a result of that and many other things, I think there was at least 5 things today. You had the China problems today, which certainly affected the stock today. You had the interest rates going up a lot on the treasuries. So I'm sure that affected the stock today. But you do have this kind of continuing pummeling by the mainstream media. I know you've got a strike point. You think the stock will bounce off of around 160. I've seen others that are around 150. Should we be a bit surprised that we're holding even at these levels? given the lowered price targets, which is another reason the stock might have been down today, of many of those who even like Tesla. For instance, well, let me just ask you that question before we look at what Piper Sandler had to say today.
Yeah, I think there is a general sentiment, this whole idea that this is a bad year, that the models are a little tired, that, I have a very clear view on this, but I've seen a lot of hesitation from, many of the analysts that have been positive about Tesla becoming a bit negative. And I'm prepared for it. I mean, I'm waiting, I'm biding my time. 160 is not so much my target. I want to see the stock settle. I want to see some clearing, so what I consider clearing action. But these are amazing times for us. These are amazing. We're not going to see this again. Once this is gone, it's gone forever. We're at a whole different level. But anyway,
okay,
what have you got?
I'll hold you to that. So Piper Sandler says he's cut his price target to 225 from 295, and he cited an aging product lineup. I'm thinking to myself, they just reintroduced the Model 3 Plus, which is not just a minor refresh. It is a new car. It completely would have changed my mind if I was in the market. You've got the Cybertruck just came out. I mean, that's a brand new product. And then you've got the Model Y, which is only 4 years old and is probably only 6 months from refresh as well.
Yeah, Piper Sandler missed the bullseye. The bullseye is that the next generation platform, I won't call it a model, it's a platform, and everybody keeps talking about next gen car. It's not a car, it's a platform. We're a year away, maybe a year and a half away. There's a lot of argument about what it is, but we're a ways away from that. And that's a legitimate observation in terms of short-term earnings. And to the extent that the market's all about the short term, in the short term, the market's all about the short term.
Yes.
That's a legitimate observation. And that's the observation I've been making all along the way. And in a way, I don't blame the analysts from, remember they're giving a 1 year expectation.
Yes.
So in a 1 year expectation, I don't think it's unfair to roll back the target. But it would be very helpful for certainly the institutional investors, but also the retail investors, to give some perspective of the future. Now, it depends on what kind of valuation is being made. The short-term valuation is based upon stock action.
Right.
A long-term valuation is based upon, the terminal cash flow discounted back to today.
Yes.
That's a very different number. And so Gary Black, who does that, has got a very different number to the number that, somebody who's looking at, the current aging, as they put it.
Yes.
It's an unfortunate term of art that they're using, but I mean, to put it in their words, in terms of, the current value, the current stock price. So I just look at the stock and I look at the upside and I look at the roadmap, and I treat this as a startup and I value it that way. And it's valued in my books as very high. I have a number in mind, above the $1,000 a share mark. Where do I get that number? I get it from the terminal, cash flow, and I discount it back, and I'm looking at 2030.
Okay.
So for me, the more they beat the share price down, the better off I am, because I've got a lot right now because of, some exits that I've done. I've got a lot of dry powder accumulating
So
from,
plenty
from
of
where
time
I am.
plenty of time to buy. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not in a rush. Believe me, I'm not in a rush. Although, at my age, I should be rushing
In a
myself.
rush. Well, the biggest issue, of course, is sales and margins. Their prediction is only 1.93 million units. So obviously they're looking at the sales, they're looking at the margins. But I was thinking about this today. If you there seems to be an awful lot of chatter now. Nobody seems to really be knocking this idea that we had 2% per quarter reduction in cost of goods last year, that cost of goods 2%, like Jeff Metz and others have said, this 2% cost of goods per quarter looks like it's pretty good for this coming year as well. Now that would mean that they could lower the cost of the car by $800 a quarter, the average car, by $800 a quarter this year, and still end up with the same margins at the end of the year that they do now. But if they started lowering the cost $8 a quarter every quarter, I think we'd see lots of negative analysis on that.
Yeah, and I want to join in the negative analysis. I do want to critique the policy. I don't think the demand is that elastic to price at the moment.
At the moment, good.
I think the demand elasticity will be there for the next gen platform.
Yes.
I think this set of vehicles that are on that they have right now, I think that they could expand demand significantly by educating the non-EV buyers with the value of not an EV, but a Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're missing that opportunity. And I've spoken about this at length, so I won't bore everybody with it again. But I think that getting the message out of the value of the Tesla vehicle to the buyer is of such great importance to the sale of the current set of models,
right,
that lowering the price is not going to do it. It is just not going to do it, because they are not, the people they're not reaching at the moment at $40,000, they're not going to reach those people at $35,000. And by the way, they may not reach those buyers at $25,000.
Right.
So we have a massive education program to do, and those are not necessarily people who are on X.
Right. Absolutely right.
Where so many of the dollars that they are spending are directed. So I think it's a serious problem. I think it's a problem, it's one of those areas where Elon is just not flexible, and he's not allowing the information to flow in. So, I do have a concern about that.
I think, every human, except for Elon, has areas of blindness.
Oh, he has.
I've got a video that I'm doing tomorrow with Brian White, and we're going to go into this in depth. And I think where his blindness is, I don't think he's ever been on. Now, he's been a salesman. We know that. He went out and sold his first company that was kind of a Yelp type company. He went out.
He didn't go out and sell.
It was mostly his brother, wasn't it? I think he sat home and coded.
That's it.
So I'm not sure he's had a sales job, or has had to sell something. And there's a whole side of the business which you need a good sales team and a sales organization and people going out there and proactively get in the business.
Yeah, I wouldn't fault him, because just look what he did with the S and the X, and then the 3 and the Y and the Cybertruck. He's got a magnificent sense of a product.
Yes.
But I remind you that the iPhone did not sell very well in its first year.
Yeah, pretty well, but better than
No, not great. It was a sort of failure. what really drove the buzz and really drove the phone was not year one, it was year two. And what, blew that phone up was there's an app for that.
Yeah.
You go and look at the iPhone sales in year one, and then you look at the iPhone sales after there's an app for that.
Yeah.
You'll see there's a gigantic jump. And if you go back in the Wayback Machine and you look at the articles in the 3rd and the 4th and the 6th and the 9th month of the launch, you'll see a lot of excitement, and you'll see that level off quite dramatically. And by the 9th month, there were talks of failure. There were talks of, it's not, you can't do much more than you can do with an ordinary phone. And then
the ads started.
And it took off because Steve Jobs had a brilliant touch.
Yes.
In terms of how to get the message out. And I think that's where we're lacking.
Yeah. So a company called S&P, I'm not sure who they are. Maybe you know who they are, but apparently they're a large fleet buyer. They say they're going to stop buying Teslas for their fleet due to poor deliveries.
Yeah.
And also due to price fluctuations.
Yeah.
So I wonder.
You're talking about SAP, right?
Oh, it's SAP. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
SAP.
SAP is a giant organization. It's the largest software company in Europe. It's one of the largest. Yeah. It's a legacy company, but believe me, it's quite a big legacy.
So do you think
they were partners of ours at a point in time?
Oh, I see. Okay. So do you think these people are having any hand holding from Tesla, or do they just have to go on the app and buy their cars?
Tesla recently established an office to sell to these companies. It wasn't that. It was. I will tell you when I get back from Europe, because I'm going to be researching that and meeting a lot of people in Europe around the subject. And so we'll obviously talk when I'm in Europe, and I'll share with you. And I can, speak to the people at SAP. I have very good relationships with senior people at SAP, and I can probably find the people to talk to. But, the same thing has happened at Hertz.
I know.
I rented I went to this last weekend. I spent the weekend in Cincinnati, well, Kentucky really, but around the Cincinnati airport. Rented a Tesla Model 3 from Hertz. By the way, it was a very good experience. Very smooth experience.
Good.
Lovely. And the car was good. It was clean. I delivered it back. They didn't charge me for charging. Everything went well. But I'll pursue this and find out what's going on.
I mean, they have a fleet. We know they do have a fleet manager now, or a vice president of something that's doing fleets, but I don't know whether they've had in the past, and I don't know how extensive that department is. And I'm just wondering if because in this particular situation, again, Larry, that I spent my whole entire life in front of buyers, the top buyers in the world. And, in this kind of a situation, you just have to sit down when they're complaining about this, and you say, look, what can we do? How can we give you a discount on the next one? How can we give you some assurance? Look, you can see that the prices now are settling down. Is there some way that we can give you an annual price instead of you having to buy the fluctuation? I mean, there's a lot of ways you deal with
Everything you say is true. Everything you say is true, and hopefully they're doing that now. But this is a message that the market is sending, and I know that a lot of us retail investors have been sending this message, and Tesla's not receiving the message.
Yeah. This is
so, and it's a problem. It's a problem because, a lot of the Tesla retail investors are very defensive about this issue, and they'll strike back. Gary's spoken about it for a long time. A lot of people get very bent and twisted about it, but he says it the way it is. There is a real opportunity for Tesla to do real outreach to public buyers, to industry, based buyers, and to,
governments, police departments.
Exactly. Yeah. So, one hopes that they'll reach out.
Okay. Yep.
I wanted to share some tweets actually from a good friend. What happened?
Just I made a little mistake, Larry. Sometimes on the whole sharing thing, I'm always a litle behind. But now you can now share your tweets. Or not.
I wanted to share tweets from AJ at ALOJOH.
Right.
He is such a great. Why is this not sharing? Is it sharing now?
Or coming up.
You see it?
Yes, we do.
He creates some really great original material, and I'm very fond of original material that is well-based. And he created this slide that I think is so telling. While we're tearing our hair out and really worrying about 2024, I wanted you to see the slide that he produced because it really tells the whole story in a single slide. So this is global automakers and Tesla's free cash flow. He's comparing 24 automakers, global automakers, the top 24 automakers, for which quarterly free cash flow disclosure is available. And he's combined all 24 and shows their cash flow year in, year out quarter in, quarter out, from first quarter of 2021 to fourth quarter of 2023. So every quarter for the last 2 years.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
And then he shows you year by year what they achieved by way of free cash flow. And it feels like it's a lot of money. This is the $20 billion line, right?
Okay.
And then they went all down to $15 billion in second quarter of 2023 and a low of $10 billion in third quarter of 2023. And by the way, this does not include Tesla.
Right.
This light blue line here is Tesla alone.
Right.
So that's 24 top automakers, 24, right?
Right.
That's General Motors, Chrysler, Stellantis,
Toyota.
Toyota. I mean, you name it. Does Stellantis give the cash flow? Maybe not. But anyway, it's 24 top automakers.
Right.
And this is the total of cash that they generate on a quarter by quarter basis. This is Tesla.
By themselves.
In the fourth quarter of 2022, they actually produced more, Tesla produced more cash than all 22 tied together. But on a given time, in a given period, if we take this line, the median line of 15 billion, and we take Tesla at 2.1 billion median line,
right,
what we're saying is that Tesla produces more than a seventh of all 24 automakers.
Right. And so steady, so rock solid, quarter after quarter after quarter.
Yeah, and I think next year it's going to explode.
Yes, I think you could be.
I think it's going to explode next year, because if you go before first quarter 2021, I don't think it's going to be that good. Well, early 2020, that's when it started going. But, this is the reason that's such a valuable company.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a valuable company.
Absolutely.
And I think this is such a great slide. I hope that he keeps it up. And by the way, he also gave this prediction, which is very sad, but it's true. He's actually posted a lot of stuff on Faraday Future, but he says Faraday Future is about to go bankrupt. Really sad.
Yep.
By the way, AJ is one of the most accurate forecasters of quarterly earnings for Tesla. So he's worth a follow. And I mean, actually, you should be following him because he's really fantastic.
Yeah, I think I follow him already. Yeah.
Great, great.
Okay. All right.
That's all I had.
That's all you had. All right. Well, that was good. We like that. So then we have on the general economy, we've got Market Watch. The Institute for Supply Management survey climbed to 53.4 from 50.5 in the prior month. That's a huge jump on the supply management survey. This would be on the services side. It had fallen in December to a 7-month low, so this is quite a turnaround. Economists polled by Wall Street had expected about a 52, and instead it came out at 53.4. Numbers over 50 are viewed as positive for the economy. The index ranges between 50 and 55 throughout 2023. And it said the majority of the respondents indicate that business is steady. They're optimistic about the economy due to the potential impact of interest rate cuts. The U.S. seems remarkably untouched. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my next comment. I was reading on. So anyway, here we have more strength in the economy. Not that we're surprised on this side of it,
On the services side.
but the strength continues. Any thoughts? Any?
Well, Cathie, so ARK Invest had their, the big ideas, which we haven't done, a piece on, or I haven't done a piece on, but really powerful stuff. Those people are really thinkers. I mean, serious thinkers. You may not agree with everything they say, but everything they have to tell you is of real interest.
Right.
And Cathie's saying that the physical economy seems to be sliding downwards, but the intellectual economy, the economy of software, of services around that, because of, the 5 important areas of innovation, she says that's taking off. And she thinks, we have a chance of that saving our butt.
Right.
As the physical economy dives. It could be, and that could be what we're seeing happening, and that could be what's impacting the employment reports.
Yep. Well, this will be interesting to keep a look on. So my thought here was that this is a brand new thought, Larry, and I didn't even put it down. I didn't send it to you in advance. So we're going to test your quickness of responding to a brand new idea that I just had. So I'm thinking about, the United States seems like it's being untouched by all this international turmoil. I mean, there's a lot of international turmoil right now. You've got China off, really badly off. You've got Europe, in some parts of Europe in recession, the entire European sphere seemingly to flatline. You got the Red Sea problem, you got Israel, you got the Ukraine, all this stuff happening all over the world. And yet the U.S. economy doesn't seem to be really getting battered by any of it. And, we saw a little oil jump and then it came back down and, last year because of Ukraine and, but really there's not much impacting us. Do you think this is a new era where here's my thought. Here's my crazy thought. Let me get it out. A lot of countries now are wealthy. We wouldn't have looked at a Vietnam or a Thailand or even a Taiwan or Chile or just you go around all of the Scandinavian countries, which are doing way better than the rest of Europe. I could just keep going with the number of all the Middle Eastern countries that are doing so well right now. Do you think it's more of an international situation where one little couple of regions here and there can't really impact, other than the United States, of course, the big kahuna, but if everybody else is kind of like, not able to mess up the world economy?
A lot of thoughts in that. I mean, I'm trying to unstring the central thesis, and China is doing very poorly at the moment.
Right.
In 2014, I gave a talk to my company, and then eventually they pulled me off the stage because I was talking to them about the coming catastrophe in China from the property bubble.
Yes.
And here we are 10 years later, and it's finally hitting.
Yeah, in a big way.
Shows you how wrong I was.
It took a while.
It took a very long time. It took a decade longer than I thought, which means it's actually more serious than I thought.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't have pulled me off the stage. They should have let me talk on for another 10 years. So that
you have India, South Korea. I mean, you have all these countries that are, you know, 20 years ago would not have been a part of the equation.
Yeah, you know, I hear you. I think it's an interesting moment. Warren Buffett will tell you never bet against the United States, and he's been right for 65 years. And he'll probably be right for another 65 years. I am not invested anywhere outside of the United States right now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hear you. That's probably a lot of wisdom in that. You know, Larry, I had one more thing on my subject matter today, and I forgot that I wanted to bring it up. There's a little bit of a beginning of a talk about Elon stepping down. Should Elon get a new CEO? About Elon walking away. Personally, I don't think he would leave if you gave him an offer to leave, because I think he's so invested in getting this job done, and that's just the kind of person he is. But what do you think about all the conversation that you're hearing right now?
I don't give it a moment's notice. I don't even give it a moment's notice. Look, Elon, I'm just through the third, I'm halfway through the third reading of the judgment. And one of the most fascinating parts of this judgment is how she just leads over, the commitment this man has got to the company.
Yeah.
The number of times he said, well, if you don't give me this package, I'm not going to leave anyway. And he's not. I mean, he's not going anywhere. He's obviously very engaged at Twitter. I haven't noticed that impacting Tesla yet or at all. I haven't noticed it impacting SpaceX at all. Neuralink just finished its first implant. Boring tunnels, busy away in Las Vegas and now at the Giga Texas site. So he's not going, and he started XAI.
Right.
He's not going anywhere. When I read the judgment, I just read about his whole staff, his whole board of directors, everybody around him just wanting him to have this package because he deserves the frigging package. Yes. And that's how the shareholders felt. And in fact, if you look at the shareholder letter that they've just written and all signed up for,
right.
I mean, everybody wants him to have this package,
right?
Except the guy with the 9 shares and his attorneys, who are going to make a fortune out of this, one way or the other. I mean, even if he wins on appeal, they'll probably make money. I mean, there'll be some settlement, I think. So no, he's not going anywhere, and this talk is just more chatter.
So on a related subject, Larry, I don't know, you and I have never had this conversation before, privately or in public. You have had a bunch of different companies. The lead item on your X profile is serial entrepreneur, and so you've been CEO of, I guess, all of those companies.
Most of those companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like the CEO role? Was that your favorite role, or would you have been?
I was a terrible CEO. Terrible CEO. Shocking. Worse than Elon. No, ask my son. I mean, he's the CEO of that company, of this last company I had.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the CEO of that company since 2014.
Okay.
you ask him, and he, in an honest moment, if I'm not there, he'll tell you, no, that's not my strength.
All right. So my point is that's how I felt the whole time I was running the plastics manufacturing.
Ah, yeah.
Because I'm a terrible CEO. Now, could I do it? Sure, I could do it. Did I run it okay? Yeah, I ran it okay. But I kept looking for somebody to take my job. I think Elon, I really think that's how he feels, exactly how he feels. He calls the CEO responsibilities, those are his chores. They're the things he has to do and doesn't want to. He doesn't like any of it. I think it would be quite okay, perfectly fine. Bring in somebody as CEO and let him be techno king, which is what he likes. I would think that would be wise. I think the stock market would even like it. Bring in a solid guy to gal like he's done at the other companies. He's got other people running them. Let him do.
Yeah, but I think you have to be cautious about using the term CEO. I'll tell you, Gwynne Shotwell is not the CEO of SpaceX.
He's president, right? Is she president?
She's the chief operating officer.
Oh, okay. COO, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
And I think a COO is fine, but that final executive responsibility to say go or no go, I think that has to remain in the palm of Elon's hands. Because the one thing that Elon, so I'm not going to compare myself to Elon. He is far better as a CEO than I ever was, even though that may not be his strength. Because the one thing he has in his bones is his sense of what is possible and what is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
And what may be seemingly impossible, but which should be done anyway.
Yeah.
Because, upside, downside, the upside wins for various reasons. This is a calculus that he does exceedingly well and has continued to do exceedingly well. He failed somewhat in his first venture. I mean, he failed somewhat in the PayPal venture. Eventually the CEO role was taken away from him. But he's been magnificent in the Tesla role because he's really matured, and he's been magnificent in the SpaceX role.
Yeah, I wish I could have failed the same way he failed in those two first ventures.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, he only made, $300 million, accumulated almost $400 million out of those two ventures. And by the way, he made some fantastic private investments during that period as well.
Yeah.
He did very well at that, but he's so plugged in that he kind of gets offered the cream of the crop.
Of course, yes, that's definitely. Well, Larry, let's take a look at where the markets are right now. We've got Tesla down just a little bit more in the after hours, but it had come back strong.
Yeah, it did come back nicely.
So
So
it's down $1.12 in the after hours. And then the bonds, which is always, I thought the bonds were going to be over. I thought we were done with the bonds leading, but I think the bonds are still leading. We have got the 10-year is actually down 2.5 basis points, 2.4 basis points in the after hour, or the pre-market. But it was up, I think, 13 basis points during the regular trading. So this is just barely taking a little of the froth off. I personally think this is way too high. I can't imagine it staying up in these kind of numbers, but that's not investment advice. And the rest of the long bonds are about the same. And the short bonds are up. So the inversion continues and continues and continues. Any thoughts about bonds, Larry?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a strong play in the long bond. I think, I think it's going to slide down to the 2% mark before the year end. Could be wrong.
Okay.
I've been wrong before.
When
not investment advice. We'll see. I mean, I think that time will tell. If the Federal Reserve does indeed cut in May, I think that will be, the test.
Well, there'll be a signal probably in March. If they give the signal, we discussed it today, but we decided not to do it today. I think that would probably be the kind of signal that that would trigger the market, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. But if I'm right, they may have to take some steps before the date.
I hope you're right. We all hope. So many people hope you're right, Larry. In the oil patch, we've got oil continuing to stick there around in the 72, 73 range. Natural gas continues to be way down at the bottom.
Isn't it strange that, they're closing the Red Sea, and yet oil is just not functionally reflecting any uncertainty at all?
Well, you have massive, massive, massive amounts of capacity now in the United States and Canada. They're at all-time highs in the United States, even with Biden administration doing everything they can to shut down oil and natural gas. It's at all-time highs, and Canada too. And so you've got that is now, the United States is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas. It's kind of hard for the Middle East to compete with that.
Well, the Mediterranean buys all their oil and gas from from the Gulf.
Well, and from Northern Europe. They get a lot out of the Scandinavian country. What is it? I'm trying to say it's Norway or
Norway is the big producer,
right.
but I don't know that they pipe it down to the Mediterranean. That I don't know.
Oh, down to the Mediterranean. I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I'm talking about Southern Europe, Mediterranean. We'll see. Time will tell. I'm really worried about the Red Sea situation because, they could close the Gulf down. And if they close the Gulf down, that will definitely impact India, China, and the Mediterranean.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got, although I'm hoping that the U.S. Navy is, up to the task.
Very difficult task. It's a very, very difficult task because of, it costs nothing to send a drone, and
Yeah.
it costs billions of dollars to keep a flotilla operational.
Yes, yeah, the whole drone thing. That's something you and I should talk about one day. Brian Wong and I have spent a lot of time. I know Brian is itching to do another show on drones, but it's a fascinating category. Maybe someday you'd like to come on to our other channel, the Next Big Future channel.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Talk about drone warfare. I think it's an exciting. Elon says the future is drone warfare, and I tend to agree with him.
It's robotic warfare. I don't know about just drones, but I think robotic warfare.
Gold is sitting still in the 2040 range. It's no flight to safety. Copper is down in the pre-market, sitting at $3.76. Call it $3.77. So all of that, and we talked about it earlier on that show earlier today, Larry, where the commodities are just really down and going down, which is good, but it indicates, as you point out, it kind of says, are we looking at a recession sometime soon?
Or a combination of a recession and the end of the molecule economy.
Yeah, that could be
going to the electron economy.
Yes, yes, yes. Dollar unchanged in the pre-market. You've got Bitcoin down 144, but staying right in that same 42.5 range. Any thoughts about any of that, Larry?
Okay. No, Bitcoin's recovered remarkably well. Recovered. I mean, it's stable remarkably well. We're going for a halving later this year. I think we'll see Bitcoin going up over time.
All right.
I know you're not a believer, but
I'm a believer that there is a market. I don't know. Okay. I don't know if it's sustainable. I don't know if it'll be there in 10 years or not. But I think there is clearly a market.
Well, if you believe in the electron economy, then you need to think about Bitcoin as representing that in one or other way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I at some point I probably will actually take a deep dive and see if I can figure it out. And for my own purposes, in other words. Okay, we've got the Dow Jones Industrial down 274 in the pre-market. No, I'm looking at this wrong. I'm sorry. That can't be right. Let me double check. I think, yeah,
Done.
that was wrong. I was looking at the wrong place. I'm going to throw
Yeah.
people off. Someday somebody's going to run off and make a decision based on my looking at this wrong, Larry. I hate that that could happen. Anyway, the pre-market, the Dow is actually only down 37. That's not.
There you go. Yeah.
S&P is down 175, NASDAQ down 1. So basically flat, except for the Dow being down a little bit there. And that is the situation, Larry. Now, earlier today, I think we had a really good show. I think, we talked about Cathie Wood. We talked about her monthly report, and we went into great detail about all aspects of that monthly report that she does. And I think we did it justice. And so for folks who don't watch her report or who want more, who would like a little more color around her report, I will put a card up right here for folks to go and check that out. Last thoughts for the day, Larry? Anything exciting to leave us with?
Not really. I'm just waiting for my Cybertruck.
Yeah.
I really hope it gets here before the Starship takes off, because I really want to drive to Starbase in my brand new Cybertruck. Please, Elon.
So we know that Elon's listening to this program right now.
Yeah.
You're just kind of shouting out to Elon that you should get your Cybertruck before that happens.
Yeah, you know what bothers me is I'm going to be out of the country from April 1 for 3 months.
Right.
And so if they're going to deliver the Cybertruck after April, that's going to be very embarrassing for me.
I see. Yeah.
I may just fly back for a few days to pick it up,
I was just gonna ask. Yeah. I wouldn't be at all shocked if you flew back.
My wife would give me I'd have to get over that problem. Don't tell him. Don't tell her.
Oh, tell her? Okay, I won't.
Don't tell her I said it. Yeah.
This is just you and me, Larry. It's just you.
That's the two of us. All right. Take care, Andy.
Thank you. And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.